virtuellement
even
grâce à la
virtually,
technologie.
thanks to technology.
Chacun
I
d'entre vous
hope that each and every
est en
one
forme
of
comme
you
vos proches.
is in form,
Et
as
je
is the
voudrais
case
évidemment
for
vous
those
remercier
nearest and dearest
pour
to you.
votre
I'd
attention
also
dans
like to
cette
thank
période
you for your attention
si
in this very
particulière.
particular
Nous
period.
vivons en effet un moment
Indeed,
grave,
we are experiencing a
grave,
very
sur
serious
le plan
moment
humain, sur le plan
from a
sanitaire, sur le
human
plan de
and
l'économie, sur le
health,
plan social,
economic and
sur le
social
plan
perspective,
politique. Cette
and
crise
also
sanitaire
in political
a
terms.
déjà
The
provoqué la
health
mort de
crisis
plus de
has
100
always
000
claimed
personnes
over
en Europe,
100,000 deaths
160
in
000
Europe,
dans le monde.
170,000 across
Et
the world.
évidemment, aujourd'hui,
And today, of course,
retrouvant cette salle de presse et vous retrouvant, mes premières pensées
finding
vont
you
à celles
and
et
in
ceux
returning to
qui
the
ont
press
perdu
room,
un être
my
cher,
thoughts
à
go
celles et
first
ceux
and
qui
foremost
sont
towards those
hospitalisés
who
dans
have
des
lost someone
conditions
dear to them
souvent
and to
difficiles,
those in
ceux qui
hospital,
sont
very
de
often
manière ou d'une
in
autre
difficult
touchés
conditions,
par
and to
ce
those
virus.
who, in some form or other,
Let me add
are
a
affected by
personal
this
note
virus.
for
Let me
Boris
add a personal
Johnson.
note.
All the best in your recovery, Prime Minister. Dans cette période de crise,
In this
l'énergie des
period of
gouvernements,
crisis, the energy of
l'énergie des
governments
institutions
and European
européennes,
institutions,
de toutes les institutions naturellement,
of course, all the
concentrées
European
sur la
institutions,
réponse à la crise, et c'est
institutions in
le cas
general, is
évidemment
focused on the response
de
to the
notre
crisis,
institution,
and that,
la
of course,
Commission
applies to our
européenne, et
institution,
évidemment de
the
notre
European
président,
Commission,
Monsieur
and our
van der
President,
Leyen.
Ursula von der Leyen.
Notre première responsabilité collective est de
Primary
contenir le
collective
virus,
responsibility is
de
to
prendre en
contain the
charge les
virus,
malades, de
to take
soutenir
care
les
of the
soignants,
sick, to look after
mais
those
aussi
caring
de
for
gérer les
them, and
conséquences
also
économiques,
to manage
sociales
the economic
de la
and social
crise.
consequences
Et
of
c'est
this crisis.
l'objectif,
That was
évidemment,
the objective, of
du
course,
Conseil
of the
européen,
European Council,
réuni hier,
which met
présidé par
yesterday
Charles
and
Michel.
which was chaired by
Enfin, nous
Charles
devons
Michel.
préparer la
Lastly, we
reprise
need to prepare
en
for
tirant toutes les
recovery
leçons, elles sont
by
très
drawing all
nombreuses,
lessons, and there are many
de
of
ce que
those
nous sommes en train de vivre
from we are
individuellement
currently
et
experiencing both
collectivement.
individually and
Voilà
collectively.
les priorités,
So
voilà
these
la
are now the
priorité
priorities. This is
absolue
the absolute
du moment où nous
priority
sommes.
in the
Voilà
current
aussi pourquoi il y a une
situation.
question légitime
That's why there is a
qui est
legitimate question.
de savoir si ces
That
négociations
is
qui nous
whether
ont
the
occupés
negotiations
avec la
that
partie
we've been
britannique
dealing with this week
toute cette semaine,
with the
depuis
British
lundi,
side
chaque jour,
has taken up the whole this week
n'est pas
since
un peu
Monday.
décalé.
Every day
J'ai
might be
même
rather
lu
out of phase with what's going on. I even read an
de vos
article
consoeurs
from one of your
qualifiant cette
colleagues
négociation de
describing this
surréaliste.
negotiation as surreal.
Je ne peux pas être d'accord avec
I cannot
ce mot, même
agree
si je
with
vois
that
bien
term,
un
even though I
décalage.
do understand that there
Il y a des
is
réalités.
something
Et nous
that's
avons,
out of kilter
par
here.
rapport à
There
ces
are
réalités, une
realities,
obligation de
and in terms
réalisme.
of those realities,
Voilà
we have
pourquoi
to apply
il était
realism.
important que
That's
nous nous
why it's
retrouvions
important that
pour
we come together
poursuivre
to
cette négociation
pursue these
complexe,
negotiations, which
extraordinaire,
are
et
complex
souvent dit
and
extraordinairement
extraordinary.
complexe. Nous avons
As often been
devoir,
said, they are extraordinarily
monsieur, d'être
complex. It's
réalistes
our duty to
face à
be
plusieurs
realistic
échéances qui sont
in terms of a
fixées
number of
juridiquement.
deadlines which are set out in law
Il s'impose à nous le 30 juin,
and which are imposed
dans
on
quelques
us.
semaines.
The 30th of June, just a
Est-ce que
few
nous
weeks from
décidons,
now,
oui
are
ou
we
non,
going to decide
avant
whether or
cette
not,
date,
before
et
that date,
conjointement avec les
and on the
Britanniques,
basis of a
de
joint
prolonger
decision with the
la
British,
période de
to
transition,
extend the transition period?
comme la possibilité en est
This
prévue
possibility, of course,
dans
is provided
le
for
traité de
in the withdrawal agreement.
Deuxième date
Second date
qu'il faut regarder lucidement,
that we
les
have
yeux,
to
c'est le
look at
31
quite clearly
décembre.
with open eyes is the 31st of December.
C'est le jour
That
fixé
is
pour le
the
Brexit
day
économique
set for economic
après le
Brexit
Brexit politique
after political
soit
Brexit
intervenu au
took
début de
place
cette année.
at the beginning of this
Est-ce
year.
que, au moment de ce Brexit économique,
When we come to this
apporte des
economic
changements
Brexit,
importants
which
et
will
définitifs dans beaucoup
bring
de
about
domaines,
important and
est-ce
definitive
que
changes
le
in many
Royaume-Uni
areas, will
va
at that
quitter le
stage
marché unique et
the
l'union
UK
douanière
leave the
avec
single
un
market
accord
and the customs union
entre
with
lui et
agreement
l'Union européenne
between
sans
it
accord?
and the European Union or without an agreement?
C'est le niveau, le degré de choc et de conséquences qui est en
So
cours pour beaucoup
what's
d'entreprises
important here is the number
et pour les
of consequences
consommateurs.
and the shock that
Et
might
puis,
affect many companies
réalisme,
and consumers.
c'est
And
aussi
there's
de savoir au
realism
milieu du choc économique
within the middle of
très
economic
important qui est devant
shock,
nous
which is
en
terrible
raison de
and
la
which
crise
is
du
around the corner
coronavirus,
because of the
si
coronavirus.
nous trouvons un accord intelligent
We need to see whether we can come up
pour atténuer
with a
le choc
smart
que je viens
agreement to
d'évoquer
cushion the
et
shock
qui
that I
sera de
just
toute façon
mentioned,
lié
and which at
à la
any
sortie
rate will be linked
du
to
Royaume-Uni
the
du marché
UK
unique
exit
et de
from
l'Union
the single
douanière.
market
C'est
and the
réaliste
customs union.
que de poser ces
And it
questions,
is
de
realistic to
se
ask
rappeler
that
ces
question,
échéances,
to
et de
remind
créer
you of
des
those
réponses. Je voudrais
deadlines and
ajouter en
come up with
parallèle
responses.
à
Let
la
me
négociation.
add,
Il y a
in parallel to the
quatrième
negotiations,
échéance,
that the
le
fourth
31
deadline,
décembre,
the 31st
c'est
of December,
la mise en œuvre qui doit être
and that
opérationnelle à
is
cette
that
date
has to be an
de l'accord
operational
de retrait.
implementation of
Cet
withdrawal
accord de
agreement
retrait
by
intéresse
that
4,5
date.
millions de
The
citoyens
withdrawal
de
agreement
part et d'autre pour la protection de leurs
affects
droits.
4.5
Nous
million
avons des
people
engagements
on
qu'il nous faut
both sides,
respecter.
citizens in terms of
Il
their
intéresse aussi, et
rights
pour moi,
being
depuis le
protected.
début,
We
une
have a number of
priorité,
demands we have to
la
respect,
paix
and right
et la
from the
stabilité
outset,
en
one priority
Irlande
has
et en
been
Irlande.
priority and stability in
Mesdames et
Northern
messieurs,
Ireland and in Ireland.
au moment où je vous
That's a
parle,
priority for me. Now,
le
at the
gouvernement
time I'm
britannique
speaking to
nous a
you,
indiqué
the
et
British
confirmé
government has
dans
told
ce
us
round
and confirmed
qu'il
at this
refuserait
round that it
toute
would reject
prolongation
any
de la
extension
période de
to the
transition,
transition
alors
period.
même que dans le traité
Even though,
créé
even
entre
in
nous,
the
cette possibilité de
agreement that
prolonger
we
d'un
struck,
an, de
this
2 ans
possibility of
existe
extension by 1
si
or
nous
2
en prenons
years does
conjointement
exist
la
if
décision
we
avant le
decide
30 juin
jointly
cette
to
année.
do before the 30th of
Prenons
June
acte de ce
this
choix.
year. We note that choice.
Ma recommandation,
My recommendation
c'est donc de
is
travailler
therefore that
sérieusement
we work
d'ici le mois
seriously
de juin
between now and the month of June.
puisque nous devons porter une réponse
And
commune,
as we have to come
de
up with a
bien
joint
réfléchir
response, we need to think
à cette réponse en
carefully
tenant
about
compte
that
dans les
response,
négociations
taking
de
account
la
in the
situation
negotiations
économique
of the
et des
economic
conséquences de cette
situation
décision.
and the consequences of the
Dans
decision.
l'immédiat,
In the
la
immediate,
conséquence de cette décision du
the
Royaume-Uni,
consequence of this
c'est que le
decision on the
temps
part of the
presse.
United Kingdom is that time
Plus que jamais,
short.
the clock
More
ticking.
than ever, the clock
Plus
is
que jamais.
ticking. More than
nous
ever.
avons 8 mois
We have 8
à
months,
peine
scarcely 8
devant nous
months
pour
before us
mener 3
to
chantiers
complete
en même
3
temps.
areas of work simultaneously.
Nous assurer de
Firstly, we
la
have
bonne
to
mise en œuvre de
ensure
l'accord de
that
retrait, je viens
the
de le dire.
withdrawal agreement is properly
2,
implemented,
nous
as I just
préparer aux
mentioned.
conséquences
Secondly, we
économiques
have to prepare for the economic
la fin de la
negative
période de
consequences
transition.
at
Il y
the
aura des
end of
conséquences, il y aura des
the
changements.
transition period. There will be
3,
consequences, there will be change.
négocier
Thirdly,
un
we have to
futur
negotiate a
partenariat
future
et réussir
partnership
un accord de
and
partenariat
succeed in striking
entre
a
l'Union
partnership
européenne
agreement
et
between
le
the European
Royaume-Uni qui
Union and the
permettra
United Kingdom,
de lutter
which will make it
ces
possible
conséquences
to
négatives.
limit those negative consequences.
Nous devons plus que jamais
Ladies and
commencer à faire
gentlemen,
des
more than
progrès
ever, we have
ensemble
to start making
et nous
progress
devons
together,
maintenant
and we need
avancer de
to
manière
move forward
constructive.
in a constructive fashion.
Voilà pourquoi,
That is
je le rappelle,
why
il était
I would
important
point out it
de
is
reprendre
important
sans trop
that this
tarder
week,
cette
without undue
négociation,
delay, we
même
resume
à
those
distance.
negotiations,
Et
even
nous
at
avons
distance.
pu reprendre cette
We
négociation
were able
grâce à
to
la technologie.
resume the negotiations thanks
Une
to
quarantaine
technology.
de calls,
40
de
or
conférences,
so
de vidéoconférences ont eu
video
lieu cette semaine.
conference calls have
Et
taken place
même
this
si ce n'est
week,
pas la même chose,
and even though it's not
même
the
si c'est
same
effectivement
thing,
plus
even though
facile dans une
indeed
négociation de pouvoir se
it's
parler en
easier
marge de
in a
discussion, ce
negotiation,
qui n'est pas
it's easier to
possible
talk to
toujours
each other in
par
the wings
vidéo.
of a negotiation. That's not always
Néanmoins, nous
possible
avons bien
via
travaillé
video.
et
We
je
have
veux
nonetheless
à ce
worked
stade
well.
remercier
At
les
this
équipes
stage, I'd like to
des deux
thank
côtés pour
the
leur
team on both
disponibilité
sides for being
et pour leur aspect
available
constructif. Et je voudrais
for
ajouter un
their
mot personnel
constructive work.
pour David
And
Frost,
I'd like
pour son
particularly to thank
professionnalisme,
David Frost
sa
for
franchise
his
et sa
professionalism,
détermination.
his frankness,
De notre
and his
côté,
determination.
évidemment,
On our
je
side,
veux
of
remercier
course, I would
toute
like to
l'équipe de la
thank
task force
the
qui
whole
travaille
task force team,
ardemment
which is
et remercier
working
aussi
extremely hard, and I'd
sous
also
l'autorité et la
like
confiance de la présidente de la
to
Commission,
thank
Ursula von der Leyen,
the President of the
tous les
Commission,
services,
Ursula
les
von der Leyen,
commissions,
and on her
toutes
behalf,
les
I'd like to
directions
thank all the
générales
services
qui sont
and
engagées
all the directors
totalement,
general in the
ainsi
Commission,
que
which
le
are fully
secrétaire général,
committed,
le cabinet de la
involving
présidente,
the
le service
Secretary
juridique et
General,
le
the
service
cabinet of the
d'action
President, the
externe.
Legal Service and External Action Service.
Mesdames et messieurs,
Ladies and gentlemen,
le Royaume-Uni a
the UK
affirmé
has
nouveau cette
affirmed
semaine
once in this
vouloir
week
faire des
its wish
progrès
to make
substantiels,
substantial progress, tangible progress
d'ici le mois de
between
juin.
now and June.
Nous sommes sur la même ligne
And we're on the
et
same wavelength on
nous
this,
respectons le même
and
calendrier.
we
Cela
respect the
signifie
same timetable.
que nous avons besoin de
That
vrais
means
progrès
that we need
avant le mois de
genuine
juin
progress by
si nous
June.
devons trouver
If
à
at
la
the
fin de
end
cette année
of this year
un
we want
accord
to strike
à
an
la hauteur
agreement which
de
is
notre
commensurate
interdépendance économique
to
et de notre
the level of
proximité
our economic
géographique.
interdependence and geographical
Nous
proximity.
avons transmis au Royaume-Uni le 10 mars une
On
proposition
the
de texte
18th of
juridique
March,
complet,
we sent to the UK a
précisément pour
proposal
traduire
for a
ce
full
partenariat ambitieux en matière
legal
économique
text
de
with a view
sécurité.
to
Ce texte
this ambitious
précis, c'est un
partnership
texte
in economic and
volumineux,
security
pas toujours
areas.
facile à lire.
The text
J'en
is
conviens,
available online. It's not always easy to read.
350
It's
pages,
350 pages.
mais
It's
c'est
a
un
lot of
texte complet
pages, but it's a
qui
complete
est la
text,
traduction
which is
précise
the
juridique
translation,
du mandat
the
qui m'a
precise
été
translation
fixé
of
par
my mandate mandate
27
is the
États
legal
membres, par les
mandate that
institutions
the
et par
27
le
member
Parlement
states, the
européen.
institutions, the European
Bien sûr,
Parliament,
ce texte
set me.
C'est un
This
texte
text
pour la négociation.
is a text
Il
for
n'est à
negotiation.
prendre ou à laisser par les Britanniques, mais c'est la preuve.
It's not to be taken or
Même dans un
left
temps
by
court, il est possible
Even a short
de
time
réaliser
frame, it is
un
possible
accord
to
complet, traité
strike
complet
a
sur
complete
l'ensemble des
agreement
sujets
and
de
treaty
notre futur
on all
partenariat.
the subjects for our
Et de
future
l'autre côté, le
partnership.
Royaume-Uni nous a envoyé
And on this side, the
des
UK
propositions de
has
texte sur
sent
certains
in
sujets, pas
proposals
sur tous
on
pour le
certain
moment.
subjects, not
Je
on
regrette
everything.
simplement, je leur ai dit,
I simply regret the fact
en raison de la règle de
that because of
confidentialité qu'ils ont
the
imposée,
rule
nous
of
ne pouvons pas
potentiality that
partager
they
avec
have
vous
insisted on, we
et
cannot
avec
share
les États
with
membres,
you and
le
the member
Parlement,
states or the
le
European
texte
Parliament.
pour le
This text, we cannot share
Dernière
it with you
semaine,
for the moment.
et les semaines précédentes, nous avons
These last
multiplié
weeks
les
and the
discussions
preceding
techniques
weeks have
pour
been
bien comprendre nos positions respectives.
ways of understanding through
Désormais,
technical discussion our
si nous
respective
voulons des
positions.
progrès
Now,
tangibles,
if we
et nous
want
les
tangible
voulons, il nous
progress,
faut
which
aller
is what we
au-delà.
want, we have
Il
to
nous faut
move beyond
dépasser le
that.
stade
We have to
de la
go beyond
clarification et provoquer
clarification stages.
de dynamisme
We need a
politique,
more politically dynamic
des
process
propositions qui
generating
construiront
proposals
des
to
compromis
build
ou un
steps
accord.
towards
Notre objectif pour ce deuxième round,
an
comme
agreement.
il le sera
For
pour
the
les prochains
second
rounds,
round and for
a
future
été et
rounds,
sera donc
and this
d'avancer en
round
parallèle sur tous les
was
sujets
and
de
will
la
be
négociation,
parallel
y
progress
compris des sujets
on
les
all
plus
subjects,
difficiles.
including
C'est
the
ça
most
le
difficult
mandat
ones in the
qui m'a été
negotiation.
fixé
That
par
was
27
my
États
mandate, which the
membres. C'est
27
aussi
gave me.
l'exigence
That
du
is
Parlement
also the
européen.
requirement of the EP.
Ma responsabilité,
My
aujourd'hui comme
responsibility
négociateur
as
de l'Union européenne,
an EU
devant
negotiator
vous, c'est aussi de vous dire la vérité.
is to say the
L'objectif que
truth
nous
to
avions
you.
d'avancer
Our
vers des
objective
progrès tangibles sur tous les
for
sujets
tangible
en
progress
parallèle, cet objectif
parallel
n'a
on all
été
subjects.
très
I'm
partiellement
afraid
atteint
this has only
au terme de
been
cette semaine.
partially, very
Bien
partially
sûr,
met this week.
Ce round nous a permis
This
d'identifier
round enabled
des
us
positions sur lesquelles
to
nous nous
identify
rapprochons, au moins sur le plan technique.
areas where, on a
Mais le
technical level, we're
Royaume-Uni
getting
n'a pas
closer
voulu
to
s'engager
the UK. However,
sérieusement
the UK
sur un
did
certain
not
nombre de points
wish to
fondamentaux.
commit seriously
Ce sont des
on
points
a number
que
of
nous n'avons pas
fundamental
inventés.
points. They're not
Ils
points
se
we
trouvent
just came up
écrits
with.
de manière assez
They are
précise
written quite
dans
precisely
le texte qu'on appelle la déclaration politique,
in the political
qui est
declaration,
jointe au traité
which
de
is
retrait.
in the withdrawal
Ce
treaty.
texte de la déclaration politique,
Here,
soigneusement
going to
discuté
it.
mot à mot,
It was
ligne à
discussed
ligne par
line by
Boris
line
Johnson et son
with Boris
équipe,
Johnson and
a
his
d'ailleurs
team,
été
point by
approuvé
point. It was
par la
approved,
Chambre des communes,
including by
comme
the
par le Parlement européen de notre côté, au moment
House
de
of
la
Commons and the
ratification
EP on our
du
side
traité de
when
retrait.
the
Et
withdrawal
je voudrais
agreement was
simplement que ce
ratified.
qui est écrit dans
What
ce
is
texte de
written
déclaration
in
politique
this text
soit sérieusement, précisément, objectivement
needs
mis en œuvre
to be
sur le plan
implemented in a
juridique
serious,
dans cette
objective,
négociation. Pour l'instant, ce n'est pas le
legal
cas.
way
Un
in the
certain nombre de
negotiation.
sujets,
This is not the
je le
case
regrette,
now
et
yet.
cela
In a number of areas, I regret that, and it
Ladies and
worries me.
gentlemen, we can't accept to make selective progress on a limited set of issues only. We need to make progress on all issues in parallel. We need to find solutions on the most difficult topics. The UK cannot refuse to extend the transition and, at the same time, slow down discussions on important areas. There are 4 areas in particular on which the progress this week was disappointing. Number 1, the level playing field. The UK negotiators keep repeating that we are negotiating as sovereign equals. As sovereigns, each side must be able to decide with full sovereignty on the conditions of access to our respective markets. That's fine. But the reality of this negotiation is to find the best possible relationship between a market of 66 million consumers on the one side of the channel and a market of 450 million consumers on the other side. That is the reality. Our free trade agreement with zero tariff, zero quotas on all products would mean unprecedented access for the UK as a third country to this market of 450 million consumers. and citizens, and a market that is on the UK's doorstep. Our economic partnership would be broad and comprehensive, encompassing trade in goods and services, including transport, fisheries and energy. Our offer shows the EU's level of ambition, but must be equally ambitious in guaranteeing high social and high environmental standards. We must be equally ambitious in preventing unfair trade distortions and unjustified competitive advantages, for instance, on state aid and relevant tax measures. This week, the UK failed to engage substantially on these topics. It argued that our positions are too far apart to reach an agreement. It also announced the basic premise that economic interconnectedness and geographic proximity require robust guarantees. Yet again, this is what we agreed with Boris Johnson in our joint political declaration. This is what the UK Parliament approved after the December elections at the same time that the withdrawal agreement. Let me remind on this point one thing, as I said already, and what my mandate clearly states, ladies and gentlemen, there will be no ambitious trade deal without an ambitious level playing field on open and fair competition. The second point on which we remain very far apart is the overall governance of our future partnership. The EU proposed a single framework for the UK and the EU to manage jointly and efficiently all areas of our future relationship. The UK continues to insist on a number of separate agreements, each with their separate governance arrangements. This leads to duplication, inefficiencies, and a lack of transparency in the application and enforcement of the partnership, which is in nobody's interest. In the single governance framework that we are proposing, there are three important points for us that the UK currently refuses. First, as a basis of our cooperation, we need to refer to common values such as democracy, rule of law and human rights, counter-terrorism, or the fight against climate change as an essential principle. Those values are standard in all our international agreements. Second, our agreements must foresee the UK's continued adherence to the European Convention of Human Rights, which should be given effect in domestic law so that individuals can rely on it. This is particularly important in the field of law enforcement and internal security. Third, the partnership cannot deliver on the high level of ambition expressed in the political declaration without the UK recognising the role of the Court of Justice, the European Court of Justice, when we use concepts of union law, especially for the exchange of personal data. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, this is of particular importance when it comes to our future police and judicial cooperation in criminal matters. And this is our third concern after this second round. We both want a close relationship here, but we face problems. The UK refuses to provide firm guarantees rather than vague principles on fundamental rights and individual freedoms. It insists on lowering current standards and deviating from agreed mechanisms of data protection, and this creates serious limitations for our future security partnership. The UK chose to be a third country. It is its choice. As a consequences, it will not be treated as a member state. We must take this fact as our starting point. However, the partnership that we envisage is still unprecedented for a non-Schengen third country that rejects the freedom of people, both due to the number of fields covered and closeness of cooperation proposed. And finally, we made no progress on fisheries. On this essential topic, the UK has not put forward a legal text. We have made no tangible progress, despite the political declaration stating that we should make our best endeavours to reach an agreement by July. This is necessary to provide sufficient clarity for EU and UK fishermen and also for all business linked to fisheries. Ladies and gentlemen, the EU will not agree to any future economic partnership that does not include a balanced, sustainable and long-term solution on fisheries that should be crystal clear to the UK. I have spoken several times about June. Why? Because we agreed with Boris Johnson in the political declaration, once again, to hold a high-level conference in June to take stock our progress in negotiations. Before that, we have only 2 rounds of negotiations left, the weeks of the 11th of May and the week of the 1st of June. We must use these 2 rounds to make real, tangible progress across all areas, including all those I have just raised. June will be also an occasion to take stock on what real progress the UK has made for the implementation of the Protocol on Ireland and Northern Ireland. Indeed, with just 8 months to go before the end of the transition period, it is urgent to take the necessary measures for the correct implementation of the withdrawal agreement. The first meeting of the Joint Committee took place on the 30th of March, co-chaired by the Vice President of the Commission, Maroš Šefčovič, and Michael Gove. In follow-up of this meeting, the specialised committee on the Protocol on Ireland, Northern Ireland, will take place next week on the 30th of April. We need clear evidence that the UK is advancing with the introduction of the agreed customs procedures for goods entering Northern Ireland. We need clear evidence that the UK will be able to carry out all necessary sanitary and phytosanitary controls, as well as other regulatory checks on goods entering Northern Ireland from outside the EU as of January 2021 in 8 months' time. 8 months' time. Indeed, I reminded David Frost again during this round that the fistful of effective implementation of the withdrawal agreement is absolutely central to our ongoing negotiations. This is a line that we will hold together with the Vice President Maroš Šefčovič, in particular on Ireland and Northern Ireland, but also on citizen rights on both sides, obviously. A new partnership with the UK can only be built on trust, and this requires that already agreed commitments are applied correctly. Voilà, mesdames et messieurs,
So
pardon.
there you go, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sorry it took a bit long, but it was an opportunity why I see you again in this way to do a full stock take, do it calmly, frankly, but in a determined way, as we usually have been and will remain to be frank and determined. I spoke frankly of the difficulties ahead, serious difficulties.
Encore surmontable.
I still think now that these are difficulties we can get beyond over the coming months. If there is political will, if there is realism, and if there is mutual respect. To go back to what I said earlier and where we stand now, I would also add, given today's reality, that the health crisis, the economic and social crisis we're going through now, place upon us even further responsibilities as Europeans and as the UK side to work together to build a sustainable and ambitious partnership over the coming months. Thank you very much, Mr. Barnier. Now we move on
those of you
to
following
questions.
via WebEx will operate the same system as we do during middays. Please raise your hand if you have a question, and don't forget to lower your hand again once you have asked your question, just like in real life. And just to remind you, we will have a technical briefing afterwards for any further technical questions. So, if all ready, we will go to the first question. Catherine Fior, you have the floor. Catherine? Okay, Catherine, I think you might be having some IT issues. We will go to Bruno. Bruno, the floor is yours.
Hello?
Yep, we can hear you, Bruno.
Yeah, I'd like for Mr. Barnier, you highlight the areas that are difficult. Among those areas is the area of fisheries. Britain has yet to table any proposals on fisheries, as I understand it, although given the differences it has in other areas. Do you think it will be possible or impossible to carry on with these talks unless Britain will table some concrete proposals during the course of May?
Bruno,
Well,
encore une fois,
Bruno,
je veux dire les choses simplement.
again, I'll try
Le
to say
Royaume-Uni
this
ne
in a
peut
very simple way.
décider qu'il
The
n'y aura pas de
UK
prolongation de la
has
négociation,
decided there will be no
comme ce serait
extra
possible,
time for the
comme ça reste
negotiation. It would be
possible
possible. It still is
jusqu'au 30
possible.
juin. Donc
The
imposer ce
30th
calendrier
of June
extrêmement
cut-off date
rigoureux,
has been imposed. The UK
exceptionnel
can't do
pour
that.
une
It's very
négociation
tight.
aussi importante.
It's
Jamais dans
exceptional.
l'histoire de l'Europe
Never in the history for such
négocier avec un
important
quelconque tiers
negotiations with any third
accord,
country.
même
We've been under such time pressure, even the civil trade agreement, and we go far beyond that. Never before such a short time. The UK, therefore, cannot impose this short, brief timeline, and at the same time not but make progress on some topics that are of importance to the EU. Otherwise, one has to be seriously concerned in June as to whether or not the negotiations can have a successful issue. I said again, this is an important matter, fisheries. We expect reasonable proposals from the UK. We await them.
Pour l'Union européenne, qui est celle du statu quo,
The status quo proposal for the EU
doit être discuté. J'ai rappelé que nous
must
souhaitons,
be discussed.
sur ce sujet important pourtant, de pêcheurs des deux côtés, et
Fishermen
pourtant
on
de
both
secteurs
sides, for
économiques,
so many economic sectors, this is very important
que nous
on
aboutissions à un
the
accord,
fish
j'ai
processing
répété,
side as well.
équilibré,
It's important for all
soutenable
these
et de long terme.
stakeholders
Voilà
to
ce
have
qui
a
est en cause.
long-term,
Je suis convaincu
durable,
même si c'est difficile des deux côtés, nous
equitable
pouvons y arriver. Je
arrangement.
rappelle,
It'll be hard both sides, but I believe we can do it.
extrêmement clair,
But let me be clear again.
que cet accord
To be
équilibré,
crystal clear,
soutenable,
the
long terme
balanced,
sur la
sustainable,
pêche
long-term
est une
agreement on
partie
fisheries is
indissociable de l'accord de
an
commerce
inseparable
avec
part
le level
of the
playing field.
trade agreement along with
C'est ça
the
mon mandat.
level playing field. Like I said before, you can't separate them out.
We'll now go to Jennifer. Jennifer Rankin, The Guardian.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Thank you very much. Also on the subject of extension, the British government position is well known. Mr. Barnier, you've mentioned that position, and also you've mentioned on the shortness of the time. So would the EU, in that case, propose an extension to try and change the mind, try and change the opinion of the British government? After all, it's what your colleagues in the European People's Party say is the responsible thing. So should the EU propose an extension?
J'ai déjà dit, la présidente de la
I've already
Commission a
said
déjà dit que
this.
nous ne
The
fermons
President of
pas
the Commission
porte
has already said that we're not closing the
une
door
extension de la période de transition.
to an extension of the transition
expressément
period. It
possible
is
sur
expressly
le traité que
provided
nous avons
for
ratifié
in the treaty that we
avec
ratified
le Royaume-Uni,
with the
et cette
United
extension
Kingdom,
peut être,
and
si nous
that
le voulons
extension,
ensemble,
if we
de 1 an
decide on
ou
it
2 ans.
together,
Et nous
can
devons
extend
décider
for 1 or 2 years.
visibilité aussi
For reasons of
pour les
visibility,
acteurs économiques
so that all the economic players and institutions are aware of this. We have to decide this jointly before 30th of June.
Nous avons toujours été ouverts à cette
We've always been
prolongation.
open to such an
Nous devrons prendre
extension.
cette décision avant le 30
We have to
juin.
make this decision
Et c'est
before
donc, si
30th
vous
of
voulez bien, je vais
June.
faire ce moment-là que je
So
répondrai à
really,
votre
it's at
question
that
plutôt
time, Jennifer, that I would
l'Union
respond to your
européenne
question.
répondra. Et voilà
Or
pourquoi
rather,
je
the
répète
European
la
Union would
recommandation.
respond. I'd say
En
once again
attendant
that
le
my
moment
recommendation,
opportun
until such time
pour
as
répondre à cette
the
question,
right
je
moment
recommande
comes
que nous
up to this
travaillions
question,
sérieusement
is that we work
d'ici le mois de juin.
seriously between now and
Et ça nous
June.
donnera aussi le temps de bien réfléchir
That will give us time
à
as
la
well
réponse que nous
to
devons
think carefully
apporter.
about any
Je
response
ne pense
we
pas
should
que
provide.
dans cette affaire de prolongation,
On this issue
doit
of
se trouver dans la
extension,
situation où
I don't
l'un
think we'd end
demande
up
ou
in
l'autre
a
demande.
situation where one is asking or
On
another
ne
is
doit pas être
asking.
demandeur.
We shouldn't be
Cette prolongation, ça doit
asking
être
for
une
this
approche commune et
extension.
une
It should be
décision
based on
commune.
a common
Encore une fois,
approach
je trouve
and a common
que
decision.
c'est trop
Once
tôt
again,
pour
I think it's
notre
too
côté
early
exprimer une opinion sur ce
for
sujet.
us
Nous allons
on
faire
our
l'état des
side to
lieux
express a view
au
on
début
this.
du mois de juin.
I will take stock of the situation at the beginning of June.
Next question now. Don't forget that once you take floor, you're more than welcome to turn on your video. Jim Brunsden.
Thank you very much. You guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Perfect, thank you. So, on the subject of fisheries, given that this is such a key issue for the EU, what's the point at this stage of going ahead with further negotiating rounds? I mean, if you're in a situation where the EU has said we will not advance on other areas unless this has been addressed and the UK is refusing to address it, why go on with other rounds at this stage? And also, if the UK isn't bringing proposals, what was discussed during the sessions on fisheries that were organised this week? Thank you very much.
Jim, je dis à tous ceux d'entre vous qui s'expriment.
Jim, and to all others who are speaking, it would be nice to see your faces. I'm symbolically looking towards an empty chair where I think you normally sit, Jim, but it's not the same. Anyway, we're not at the end of negotiations yet.
Le résultat positif, le succès de la négociation, son échec, à constater à la fin du processus,
will be seen at the end of the process. We can have indications.
Plus tôt, au mois de juin,
earlier in June.
Nous avons encore le temps.
But we still have some time till then.
De notre
Before
côté, ce n'est
success
pas
of
nous
failure is
qui
manifested. We are not the ones imposing the time constraint either. I've always said, and I repeat again, for me, the quality of the agreement, its globality, are more important than the timeline when it comes to the agreement with the UK. It's just that right now the UK is saying they don't want to prolong negotiations. That means we have 2 rounds left between now and June.
J'espère, j'ai demandé à David Frost que nous puissions disposer et travailler par rapport à notre demande,
based on our request and our proposal on fisheries, that we receive a reasonable proposal from the UK side on fisheries, and then we can see whether we can try to move closer and find this balanced, stable, long-term agreement.
Je sais que c'est un sujet difficile.
I know it's a difficult topic. But this subject is linked and will remain linked to the trade agreement and the level playing field. So everybody has to take their responsibilities here. Thank you.
Catherine, I'm going to give you a second shot if you want to take the floor.
Nope.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So, Catherine Pure, EU reporter. Michel Barnier, congratulations on your full recovery. It's good to see you back at the podium. My first question would be, you said that you look at the making a decision together. That decision that might be made together at the end of June would include how much the UK would have to continue to contribute to the EU budget. Would you be able to give any sort of reassurance to the British government that they will not have to pay into a massive recovery fund as part of their contribution to an extended transition? And is a question on the level playing field. Ursula von der Leyen, the President of the European Commission, has pointed out that there is about 1.8 trillion euros being pumped into Europe's economy. That's being done in a very, very uneven way, that is damaging the level playing field. Could the UK turn around and say that the EU is guilty of double standards?
Moment où nous devrons
Well, Catherine,
prendre cette décision ensemble, prolonger
when
ou
we
ne
have
pas
to take this
prolonger,
decision together as to whether
la
to
présence
extend or not,
économique du Royaume-Uni
the
dans le
UK's
cadre
economic
économique du
presence
marché unique et de
within the
l'union douanière,
economic frame of the single market
si
and the customs union,
nous devions décider ensemble
if we were to decide
de
together
prolonger d'une année ou 2
to
années,
extend by 1 or
il y
2
a 2
years,
questions à régler à
then
ce
there are
moment-là.
2 issues which you have to
Dans quelques
address
jours,
at that point.
c'est
At least within a
réglé,
matter of
1 an
days.
ou 2 ans,
Firstly, the
la
extension's
contribution
length will be
budgétaire
1 year or 2 years, and
que le
secondly,
Royaume-Uni doit
the
apporter au
budgetary
budget
contribution
européen
that the UK would have to
durant
make
la durée
to the European
de
Union
cette
budget
transition.
for the period of
Le
transition.
Royaume-Uni ne participera plus au
The
budget
UK will
européen
no longer
à
participate
partir
in the
de 2021.
EU budget as of
L'accord est extrêmement
2021.
clair sur ce
The
point,
agreement is
mais
absolutely
il
clear
devra
on
apporter
that,
contribution
but it has to make
forfaitaire
a flat
au
rate
budget pendant la
contribution to the
période
budget
où il resterait
during the
dans le
period
marché
where
unique
it
pour
might
des raisons que
remain
nous
in the single
déciderons
market for
ensemble.
reasons that were decided upon
En
together.
toutes circonstances,
At any rate,
le Royaume-Uni ne participera
the
pas
UK
au
will
prochain
not
cadre financier
participate in the next
pluriannuel ni au
multi-annual
prochain
financial
programme.
framework nor in
Il ne
the
participera
next
donc pas à un plan
programming
de reprise
period.
mis en
So
œuvre
it
après
will
l'année
not participate
2020.
in
Je rappelle
plans
qu'il devra payer une contribution
rolled
budgétaire
out after
forfaitaire
2021, as I
si
said once
la
again, it has
transition
to
est
pay
décidée
in a lump
de
sum
la transition.
to the budget if there is a decision to extend the transition period.
I give the floor to Ian next. You've had your hand up for a while. Ian.
Bonjour, Mr. Barnier. You said very clearly that you have concerns about the implementation of the Northern Irish Protocol. Could you say how far behind you think they are? Have they done anything? And would you accept the pandemic as an excuse for them not living up to their obligations?
Non, mais pour être tout à fait sincère, quand je pose cette question à David Frost en tant que négociateur, et surtout durant la réunion du Joint Committee il y a quelques jours, le vice-président Maroš Šefčovič a été extrêmement clair à poser ces questions à Michael Gove, qui est chargé de la mise en œuvre de l'accord de retrait du côté britannique. Les réponses jusqu'à maintenant sont très confiantes et positives. Nous ferons tout ce que nous avons à faire pour mettre en œuvre cet accord de retrait, notamment le protocole irlandais, l'Irlande et l'Irlande du Nord. Simplement, on ne va pas attendre le mois de décembre pour en être sûr. Il y a des choses, des dates, il y a des marqueurs, il y a des décisions qui doivent être prises techniquement pour tout au long de la période entre maintenant et le mois de décembre, où le Royaume-Uni doit prendre des dispositions nécessaires pour mettre en œuvre des contrôles douaniers, contrôles espèces, phytosanitaires, au-delà d'ailleurs de ceux qui existent déjà, je le rappelle, à Belfast, au bord et à l'aéroport, il y a déjà pour des produits végétaux, des animaux qui arrivent de Grande-Bretagne en Irlande du Nord, dans le même pays, il y a déjà des contrôles actuellement sur certains produits ou certains animaux. Nous attendons de voir concrètement et réformer des dispositions concrètes, précises, opérationnelles que le Royaume-Uni doit prendre. Et nous avons des réponses précis. Je ne vois pas la situation de crise que nous traversons, le Royaume-Uni, nous, ensemble d'ailleurs, soit
But this crisis, well, it hasn't been mentioned as a reason for any putative delay. I don't think that's on the agenda, and I'm not going to sort of cast aspersions on anyone or say anything other than it's important. We need a climate of trust. Existing agreements, signed agreements, have to be complied with if we want to have good conditions for future agreements. And can you imagine what would happen if there were to be a difficulty in the Northern Ireland issue? It would be very serious for everyone concerned. We don't want any problems. I've said it here in this room before.
Presque jour pour jour, le 4 mai, que je suis à Dungannon.
I went to Dungannon, I think, on the 4th of May. So it was to the day.
Que j'ai eu cet entretien très émouvant, que j'appelle souvent
What's often referred to as meeting with women, very
avec le soutien de
ladies who work on both sides, thanks of the border, thanks to European and UK programs, and I made a personal and political and moral commitment to them. Everything will be done to preserve peace and conditions of peace in
Ireland. En même temps que nous avons, puisque le Royaume-Uni quitte avec l'Irlande du Nord,
and Northern Ireland, of course, will be leaving the single market.
Conditions de respect du marché unique soient assurées
pour les consommateurs et pour les entreprises. And those two things have to
Donc je ne fais pas de d'intention.
But I'm not going to, as I say, express doubt about anyone or anything. We have a process. We have June. There's supposed to be a specialist committee meeting at the end of the month on Ireland and Northern Ireland. We need guarantees, need assurances on all the financial, technical, concrete measures that need to be taken so that the agreement can be properly implemented and applied. And there was a controversy, but I don't understand why, but I've said before that we would be prepared to have a technical, I stress technical, not diplomatic, representation with VET in Belfast, customs experts, so technical office to be our part in that.
We'll take one or two more questions in the time remaining. Before I give the floor to somebody, can I just remind you to lower your hands again if you no longer have a question? It's easier for me to read the screen. We will go to Nick Gutteridge, or as I have you in front of me, Nicholas Gutteridge.
Hi, Dan. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, Ms. Barnier. It was sort of follow up a bit on Bruno and Jim's questions, really, but specifically, UK seems to very much have been prioritising the strand on trading goods, which you repeatedly said cannot be separated from the level playing field issues and the fisheries issues. So if the UK, as you see it, continues to refuse to engage on a level playing field in fishing, does there come a point when the EU will look to scale back with talks on trading goods, which at the moment are one of the issues that's going on every day?
Once again, these three topics are linked, and that's legitimate. The fisheries issue is an economic one, both in terms of fisheries products, fished by extremely brave men and women. I remind you that this is one of the most dangerous jobs on both sides, of course. Processed fisheries products as well, and behind that there are industries which are also major.
Je connais toutes les données de ce secteur. J'ai même été ministre de la pêche et des pêcheurs dans mon propre pays. Donc, le
fisheries and the fish industry in my own country.
Central, mais c'est normal qu'il fasse partie
and it's only natural that it be part of the trade negotiations. And in that, by the way, there is a European Union requirement because of proximity and the economic interconnection between the UK and ourselves to have a level playing field. If I may, let me diverge somewhat to talk about the level playing field. Let me respond to a criticism or some of the comments I've heard, the idea that we want to impose our own legislation on the UK. We respect the UK's sovereignty and we ask it to respect ours. What we're talking about here, if we want to have a zero tariff, zero quota trade agreement, which is extremely ambitious between the UK which is our doorstep and which remain there, and the European Union with its market of 450 million consumers. If we want to have an ambitious trade agreement, then we have to be certain that this economic relationship will not be accompanied by distortions of competition, aggressive state aid policy. We're not going to ask the UK blindly to follow EU legislation, which it won't be involved advising with us. All we're asking is, if we're talking about, is that we have to come up with a system or an agreement to make sure that our levels of regulation on both sides are more or less comparable, and there should be no distortion of competition in social, economic or taxation field, including state aid. So we agree that on both sides, within our own sovereignty, we have an equation between our respective regulation on the same level. I said that there are three topics linked. It is quite simple as that. There will be no trade agreement without an agreement on fisheries. For the moment, the UK has understood our message, and I think quite above and beyond any positions of principle, they will come back with proposals, and we're willing to discuss those on my side in relation with member states and those involved in the fishing industry.
We'll do one final question for today. James Crisp.
Thank you, Dan. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes. Excellent. Okay. The UK wants a sort of a more basic trade deal than the EU, Mr. Barnier. Are you concerned that gives the UK leverage? I mean, their model is closer to no deal on your famous staircase than the EU's preferred model. Won't you have to eventually agree a bare bones trade deal to avoid a no deal outcome?
Well, I'm not sure I fully understood your question, James.
Un accord basique, comme vous dites,
a basic agreement, to use your own term, basic trade agreement,
devra être accompagné
would have to be accompanied
level playing
by
field
a level playing field agreement and an agreement on fisheries.
Et moi, je continuerai avec toute l'équipe
I and my team,
qui est extrêmement compétente et
formidable,
d'ailleurs, dans l'instant, Clara Martinez,
and you'll be seeing Clara Martinez, and the other chief negotiators in a wee while for the technical briefing after I go. But all of us want an agreement with the United Kingdom. I weighed my words carefully, and I said at the end of my initial remark that what's happening around the world in Europe is very serious. In moments of such gravity, we have even more responsibility on our shoulders to find a solution, a way forward. And I think that's how the UK sees it too. Boris Johnson's mind is thinking along similar lines, is on our mind. Time is short, but I think there is possibility for agreement in that time. We wrote the full agreement out. We think it's possible. The text isn't a take it or leave it text, it's a text for negotiation. But with will, realism, mutual respect, including on fisheries, we can get to an agreement. We're not there yet, we're far from it. We have two more rounds before noon. There are we'll take stock and state of play, and then there's all the other July, August, September, October to work on this. I'm going to put all my energy, all our energy, all my calm as well, all the expertise of the Commission and of Council and Parliament and the Member States at the service of this desire for agreement. But as I said in the plenary meeting with the negotiators earlier today, this agreement will not happen, will never happen, if it damages the European single market. The UK know the rules, the ecosystem. We're not going to damage that. And those conditions, a number of conditions have to be understood. Leaving the EU, leaving the customs union, leaving the single market, it's a sovereign decision by the UK, but that decision has consequences, and I believe negative consequences. We're trying to limit the negative in this agreement, but we haven't reached agreement yet.
On that point, I think we will conclude today's press conference. Thank you, Mr. Barnier, and thank you to all of you who tuned into today's briefing. Just as a reminder, we will switch over to the off-the-record technical briefing in the next few minutes. Thank you very much.